Howdy guys, Cal Kellogg here. Well, as you can see, I am driving down the road. It's gonna be one of those busy days. I'm actually going into town right now to pick up my mom. She needs to have a tooth extracted and they're gonna knock her out, put her to sleep and jerk her tooth out, yikes. But I am the driver for that deal. And then I'm heading back home and I wanna talk about downriggers. I wanna take an in-depth look at my Scotty lake troll. I've been running it for 2 years now. I've made some modifications to it. I've got some notes, not just about that downrigger, but about downriggers in general. And I just want to do a comprehensive overview of that lake troll, talk about some successes, some failures, stuff like that. So as soon as I get done with my mom and running a couple other errands, we will go back to the home studio and we will be talking downriggers. Fish on. Man, that fish hit hard. He's all over the surface. That's on a mini turbo and a piece of a night crawler. Man, that fish is going crazy back there. Man, that's a good fish. I guess. Wow. Coming right at us now. Oh man. What a rainbow. Beautiful rainbow. Wow. That's a really nice rainbow for French Meadows, let me tell you. Look at that dandy rainbow. What a fish. What an awesome rainbow. I'm gonna get him back in the water. Look at that square tail. Beautiful. Beautiful. Hey guys, I am back from the dentist. My mom did well. She's safely back at home now. I'm recuperating from having her tooth pulled, and it is time to talk about downriggers. More specifically, it is time to talk about my Scotty Lake Troll portable downrigger. Before we start talking about the actual unit right here, let's take a few minutes to talk about what I tipped this with. You know, the weight, the clip, how I got it rigged, stuff like that. So I'm gonna lower this down to the ground here. Let me tighten this up a little bit. I'll lower this down right here. We'll get back to the downrigger in a second. Pulling some line here. Here comes the weight. Now, for years and years and years, fishing on my kayak, I ran a 4-pound round weight, and it worked very well, except there are a couple things I didn't like about it. One, too much resistance through the water with the round weight, and it also tended to oscillate through the water. I don't know if that hurt me or helped me in terms of catching fish, but I didn't like it. So I was on Amazon, and I've been thinking about getting a cylindrical weight for a long time. I was on Amazon and I saw these. This is a deep drop halibut fishing weight. They use these in Alaska, Scandinavia, places where they're using heavy gear. They're getting down way down deep to target Pacific halibut, or I don't know what they call Pacific halibut back east, but they're halibut when they're catching them there in Europe. Anyway, these are the kind of weights they use to get their bait down in really, really deep water. So I grabbed a 5-pounder. I went up in weight 1 pound. I didn't think this would oscillate through the water, which it doesn't. And I also feel like it is more snag resistant should I hit the bottom. I try not to hit the bottom, but you know, every once in a while I do hit the bottom. And it also cuts through the water very cleanly, and I get less blowback with this than I did with the round weight. And of course, because it's more water dynamic in shape, I was able to go up 1 pound without any real negative consequences in terms of, you know, cranking it up on the downrigger or how it goes through the water or anything like that. So overall, I gotta say the transition to this deep drop weight was a win-win-win. Enough said about that. It's a weight, man. I've got that weight attached to the downrigger line via one of these Scotty latex downrigger bungees. Swear by these things. They cushion the downrigger weight. If you drop it, it helps prevent you from snapping the cable or snapping the line. Yes, if you just drop a downrigger weight, sometimes it will snap the cable or snap the braided downrigger line, depending on what you're using. So it helps cushion it that way. It helps cushion the gunnel of the boat or the rail of the kayak. You know, if you're in heavy water or the wakeboard boats are out and you're bouncing like that. It also helps cushion things when you do hit the bottom and your weight's dragging. It just kind of cushions the whole operation. I swap these out once a year. Don't know if I need to, but I figure latex degrades over time, so I swap these out once a year just to ensure that I have good fresh latex there. These things haven't let me down. I like them a lot. So that big snap right there, well, that comes with the latex band, and this big giant snap right here is the one that I attach my downrigger line to. Here's my downrigger line right here. I am using the Scotty braided line right now, 200-pound test. I fairly recently switched out to the braid from the cable. I'll talk about that in a second. But right here at this transition, this is where I attach my downrigger clip. I don't use anything fancy. I got it wrapped here a few times. Let me unwrap it. There we go. Don't use anything too fancy. I use the standard Scotty small clips. I like the ones with the chartreuse jaws, or I've had some that were all chartreuse. I really like that because it allows me to kind of gauge the clarity of the water as I let this down. So that's just kind of a side benefit to using those with the chartreuse jaws. But these are the standard Scotty, you know, downrigger release clips, the light, you know, trout and kokanee size ones. I use those. I re-rig them though. They come with a fairly short piece of line on them. I have that rigged on about 24 inches of 50-pound monofilament, and I like that long tether on the clip for a couple reasons. One, it allows me to get that clip back into the kayak when I'm attaching my line. I don't have to like lean out over the side. So I like that a lot. I also like the fact that with it being longer, when this is in the down position, when my weight is down and my rod is loaded against that clip, well, that release line, you know, that 24-inch section of 50-pound test, it's coming up almost vertical, okay? And if you've watched the channel any length of time, you've undoubtedly seen me trolling a worm, and a fish will come in and he'll tick at it, and I'll get on the pedals and off the pedals, and I'll eventually hook that fish. Well, I feel like if I'm using a longer lead on that release, I get more rod action when a fish is coming in and nipping at my bait. I really like to see what's going on, so I like to run that long tether, and again, I like to bring that clip back into my lap when I'm attaching my line to it or whatever. So I re-rig them on that 50-pound test. Your mileage may vary, but that's something to think about whether you're fishing from a boat or a kayak or whatever. I just like that long tether. So from there, I have, as I said, I have the black Scotty braided downrigger line. And let's talk about that for a second before I pull up the unit and show you the unit and talk about that. For a long time, I ran the cable, okay? And cable has a couple drawbacks in my opinion. One, it hums through the water, and after a while, that hum really started to just get on my nerves. I would just hear it, especially when the fish weren't biting. It would be humming, and it would just be driving me batty. So I knew if I changed to the braid, I wouldn't get that hum anymore. But you know, I was procrastinating, there's no doubt about it. But what really pushed me over the edge with this is I was up at a high mountain lake, and it was a little windy, and I was still running the cable, and I hooked a fish, and the wind started pushing me up on shore, and my downrigger ball got caught on the bottom, okay? Well, I ended up maneuvering the kayak, I lost the fish, but I got the ball out of the rocks. Had I not been able to get the ball out of the rocks, I would have had to cut that cable. And it would have been a chore. I had a little pair of needle nose pliers, and that stainless steel cable, that stuff can be tough to cut, and I certainly didn't want to be leaning out over the side of the kayak in rough water trying to gnaw through that line, okay? I know with the braid, should I get hung up like that and decide, you know what, I need to cut that weight loose because it's not safe, all I need to do is pop the little knife off my life jacket, swipe, that is cut, I am free. Yes, I lost my rigging, I lost my weight. Guess what? I didn't lose my life. I didn't lose all my gear because my kayak flipped over. So I like the ability to be able to cut that braid very quickly, very easily when I'm out on my kayak. So less noise, more safety, I'm totally in. So let's retrieve this unit here and let's talk about the unit itself a little bit. So I've had and I continue to have a love-hate relationship with this thing. But recently I've made some tweaks to it that have kind of shifted, you know. I'm probably 70% love and only 30% hate, where it was pretty even 50-50 love and hate, you know, when I first got this unit. One of the big changes was putting that braid on there. I like that a lot. The new weight, without the oscillation through the water, without all the blowback, that is definitely, you know, put more change in the love column than the hate column. So those were two things that I did that definitely made it work better for me. If you look at the unit here overall, it just snaps into a Scotty rod holder base, and it's pretty dang simple. You've got a pulley right here where your line goes through. Up here you've got the spool. Crank it up, crank it down. Right here, this is the brake. Release the brake like that, it can go down, and you know, likewise you can reel it up. I was having a lot of trouble reeling up my weight from deeper water. I'd back this thing off to where it seemed pretty loose, and I'd start cranking that weight up, and it would just be a chore, and it was sticky and stoppy, and it wasn't very comfortable. It just didn't seem to work very well. And I kept telling Wes, man, I got to get a better downrigger. I hate this thing. It's hard to reel up, especially when I was in 30, 40 feet of water. I was catching fish. I have to reel it up a lot, you know? So one day I really backed the screw off a lot. And what I found was if I really backed it off a lot, it was a whole lot easier to crank up. So there was something, even though it seemed to be totally loose, there was something about the dynamic of cranking that weight up that was causing it to have friction in here. And it'd be squealing and moaning and whining and not wanting to come up. But if I back that thing off, you know, a good distance, I'm not experiencing that problem anymore. And that definitely made me like this unit a whole lot better. So one of the things that I found when I put the braid on here, I had a bright idea. I says, you know what? I'm gonna connect the braid to the cable, leave the cable in there. It's gonna make the spool diameter bigger, and I'll be able to retrieve the line faster. Absolutely, it worked out just like that. The problem was when you get this with the cable on it, it tells you in the package, one crank equals 1 foot down. 2 cranks, 2 feet, 100 cranks, 100 feet. Makes sense. Well, when I put that braid over the top of the stainless steel cable, that was out the window. I would be estimating that I was down, say, 20 feet, and I would be hitting the bottom in 27 feet of water. And you know, a lot of times I am fishing structure. I want to be near the bottom, but not hitting the bottom. And the inaccuracy that extra line gave me on there, it was just kind of messing with my whole presentation. I need to know how deep that weight is within a foot or so. That's very important to me. And this thing has no counter on it. So I was thinking of, you know, possible solutions and not coming up with anything that was really feasible, really easy, until one day I was in my garage and I have all kinds of spray paint in there. I spied a bright orange can of spray paint and I got an idea. I grabbed the downrigger, I scoped it out in my driveway, and let me back this off a little bit. What I did, pull a little line off here so I can set this down and show you. What I did was every 10 feet I painted about a 16, 18 inch section of that braided line bright orange, and I also added just an overhand knot. I added a piece of bright yellow braided fishing line, and then I coated that with crazy glue. And as I said, you know, I put that in every 10 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, all the way to 60 feet. So when I'm out fishing now, I don't really have to think about how many revolutions I'm going down. I just watch for those brightly colored sections to go by. I watch for that little piece of yellow braid to go by, 10, 20, 30. If I want to hit kind of the medium between those depths, I do an extra crank or two, and you know, I'm down at 25, 35, whatever the number is. But that proved to be a very simple solution to figuring out how deep that weight was. Cost me nothing but a little bit of time, and I think I've been fishing 5 times since I did that, and that paint is holding up very well. And of course, that little braid knotted on there, that's my insurance policy. I wasn't sure if the paint was just gonna come off the first time I did it, so I came up with the idea of adding that braid right there, and you could just very easily just go with that too. But that is my DIY makeshift line counter, and I gotta say it works very well. Let me retrieve this unit and kind of wrap up here. So if I had to rate this unit on a 1 to 10 scale, where 10 is the best, 1 is the worst, I'd have to give this overall about a 7. It's not the easiest thing in the world to use. It takes a little bit of a learning curve. Like for example, when you back this off and you're counting the line down, okay, well, let's say we're down as far as we want to go. It takes a little bit of dexterity. You got to hold the spool stationary and lock off that screw. If you just let it go, it's just going to brrr, and down it goes. So, you know, there's a little learning curve to using it. It's a little wonky, but I got to say, it gets the job done. And you know, what are you really looking for? A downrigger is a spool that allows you to spool a weight down into deep water with your fishing line attached, and you know, on a clip that it's going to break free if you get a fish on the line. It certainly does that. You know, Wes is running a more sophisticated Scotty crank downrigger now on his kayak. His has the release lever, the brake on it, and also has an integrated line counter system. So, you know, that's definitely an option. He had to jump through some hoops to figure out how to hook it on the rail of his kayak, but I gotta say, it's a very nice unit. I may make that transition sometime, but overall, this unit's getting it done for me. It is extremely durable. I've dropped it, kicked it, beat it. It rides around inside the big storage compartment in my kayak. It's bouncing around in there with the weight, and it is no worse for wear. It just keeps on working. It's got very heavy hardware on it. This arm is stainless steel, very tough stuff. Whatever Scotty makes their spools and stuff out of, it's some Roswell alien ship plastic or something. The stuff is just flat out durable. So overall, highly recommended. If you're gonna be a serious trout or landlocked salmon fisherman, troller, you gotta have a downrigger, whether you're fishing on a big boat or a kayak or a canoe or whatever. And this little Scotty Lake Troll, it'll get the job done. You might have to make some modifications to it like I did to make it more user-friendly for you, but all in all, it's a very solid unit. It's a very good place to start your downrigger fishing career. I'm Kel Kellogg. I'm out of here for now. If you're looking for fishing gear, you know where to go, fishhuntshoot.com. I will catch you next time right here on YouTube. You have a great day, and if you haven't subscribed, please remember to crush that subscribe button. You'll always know when I'm on here talking about fishing or fishing gear or whatever. I'm Kel Kellogg. I'll see you real soon.